Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining the online panel discussion. I'm Susanne Tedrick, and I am the author of Women of Color in Tech, and I am incredibly thrilled to be with you this afternoon to celebrate the book launch. Given everything that's going on in the world right now with the global pandemic, I know that everyone is, facing individual challenges, and it's not lost on me that you're spending your time with me with all of the other things that are going on in the world. And so I wanted to say from the bottom of my heart that I'm deeply humbled that you're spending your time with me. So thank you. Couple of housekeeping items before we get started. So the panel discussion is going to run roughly an hour, with 40 minutes dedicated more or less to our discussion with our panelists and Q&A at the end. You are in listen-only mode, so the way that you'll be able to engage with us is to type in your questions in the questions panel. When I receive that, I'll be able to look and share that with the rest of the panelists. If there is a specific question that you have for the panelist, or for a particular panelist, be sure to write their name. And as always, you can ask a question of me as well. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. So when I wrote Women of Color in Tech, I not only wanted this to be an exploration of the wealth of technology careers that are out there and preparing women of color to get into those careers, I was also very much aware that there are factors that impede our success. So having very candid discussions about those factors, be it social, economic, academic, or within the workplace. And the challenge was making sure that I was speaking candidly and honestly, while also delivering a message of hope that tech is a place that women of color can not only survive, but thrive and build wonderful careers. And I was fortunate enough during the writing of the book to meet wonderful, terrific female leaders, some of whom are just beginning their careers in tech. Some of them are, veterans. But the one common thing through all of them is their dedication to their craft and to be trailblazers for the future tech generations. And so I'm really honored and I'm really thrilled that I have a number of them here on the panel today. So I'd like to take a moment to introduce my panelists. We have Tanika Askew, Ariana Davis, Angela Davis-Dogan, Michael Lane, Juliet Okafor, and Victoria Scott. And ladies, so thank you again for being with me here today. I've learned so much from you, and it's truly an honor to be able to have you here today to just talk very candidly about your experiences in tech and any thoughts that you would offer to the audience. So I'd like to start by asking each panelist to just briefly introduce themselves, what led them to their particular career, and given all of the things that we are documented about why women of color leave or don't bother to pursue tech careers, why you made the choice to stay within tech. And so Tanika, if I can start with you. Tanika, can you hear me? Okay. So we'll go ahead and hopefully Tanika will join back on. But Angela, would you mind introducing yourself? Looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. Give us one moment.
Probably, Suzanne, the first technical difficulty dealing with me would be to take yourself off mute. That might be a good thing. Just saying, that might be a good thing. But I was, I was saying that I'm Angela Davis-Dogan. I have been in the field of risk management a little over 16 years. And actually, my world of technology began when I went to school for electronic engineering technology. That was dealing with the hardware side of things, and so I finished that degree, and I said, I don't like the hardware. Maybe I'll dibble on the other side. So I did just that. I dibbled on the other side, and sort of never left that side. And how I got into risk management specifically was there was an organization looking to start a vendor risk management program, and they needed somebody to develop and run that program, and they chose me, and I accepted, and I've kind of been here ever since. I'm a firm believer in doing what you love, and I grew to love it. I like it. It's an ever-changing environment, and so I just kind of stayed here. And fast forward to today, I have launched my own consulting business where I help organizations build up risk management programs. And so, again, just doing what I love.
That's terrific. Thank you. Ariana?
Hi, so I'm Ariana Davis. I am currently a full stack engineer for the Golden State Warriors in San Francisco. Starting off, I did graphic design in high school, and my parents, they're fully supportive still to this day, and I'm definitely grateful for that. And from there, I just remember having a computer in my parents' living room, and we started using floppy disks. That's like definitely out of style now, but I just remember like the purple and green ones are like my two favorite ones I always flip flop between. So I kind of was doing that, and then transitioned to graphic design in high school, and then when transitioning into college, the graphic design major actually got merged in with studio art. And I'm not a drawer whatsoever. I can do it on a computer, but when I have to actually do it with my hands, like I don't draw. So I was like, okay, well, I don't want to really do graphic design as a major. Maybe I should pivot into doing engineering. And this is when I started getting into websites and looking how those are built out. So I just went for getting a major in a major in IT, and then minoring in CS. And I haven't looked back since. I literally, just like what you were saying, I love what I do every day. I wake up excited. It's basically problem solving day in and day out, and I love it. So that's what, I currently do. And working with the Warriors, I have a passion for basketball. So being able to work full time as an engineer, maintaining their web interfaces, sometimes mobile applications, and being able to do my love of basketball and tech and to merge that into one, I'm definitely grateful for it. So.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Michael.
Hi, I'm Michael. My love for tech started way back. I mean, first it was engineering, where I was in circuit breakers and trying to do receivers and things like that, but it grew into just like the Jetsons. And I've always been into technology, like the Flintstones versus the Jetsons things. Like innovation is ever changing from back when like right now, when we got our TVs and our cell phones or our TVs. I had the Watchman, where I had my little TV and long antenna trying to be on the go with technology. So technology's always been a passion of mine. And like now, in my latest adventure, I was working for construction and mechanical contractors, and it was hard for the field and the truck drivers to communicate with the office. So I was always trying to figure out different technological ways that were, you know, kind of blue collar learning, so they could be innovative and, you know, get a little bit more things accomplished. So now fast forward, I'm working on getting more individuals acclimated into tech through my own company, where it's just like, you know, it's a nonprofit trying to get everybody pretty much understanding construction technology, because there's so many diverse construction fields out there that utilize technology that are going untapped.
That's terrific. Thank you so much.
That's about
it. Juliet.
Hi, I'm Juliet. I am the CEO of Revolution Cyber. We are a company that focuses on integrating behavioral science into cybersecurity. My path to cybersecurity, I would say, was not easy. It was filled with lots of difficult situations. I actually, at the time I joined cyber, was on welfare. And and after being, you know, a law school graduate, I had 3 degrees, but, you know, circumstances sometimes find you in situations to actually, you know, find where you're supposed to be. So I always talk about, you know, how it is I got to cyber is that cyber chose me, and that I literally needed a job. And it was the only job that legitimately would allow me to stay in sales, leverage old skills. I could also help to build a company from the ground up. And it allowed me to, you know, in addition to finding new skills, it allowed me to help a team of security analysts develop their own like personal skill sets. So my first job in cybersecurity, I was a salesperson. I've been able to pivot and tumble and fall and pick myself up. But ultimately, my journey in cybersecurity has been about finding the fire and finding in the fire the opportunity. And every time I find a new role, I have to have it fill me. I have to be fulfilled. So Ariana talks about the fact that her job, you know, is something that she loves to do. I don't even seek happiness in cyber, because cyber, I wouldn't say makes me happy, but cyber keeps me fulfilled, right? There are so many questions that cybersecurity and technology answers for this world. It is the future, right? Technology is our future, and protecting that technology is something I'm so committed to. But I want to focus on the human mind. I want to focus on human behavior. And so I think my background in marketing and sales makes me, you know, innately the right person to kind of solve this big problem. Is how do we, in cybersecurity, figure out how to stop attacks by securing human beings? And that's such an important question to me. And if I can solve it, it'll be such an important question for this world to answer, that even when I have these long days and I've got 2 children, every day I wake up again, I'm like, you need to start again. And so my path has been difficult. I envision it'll be more difficult, but if I can do the journey and have more people join me, then I can say, you know, on my tombstone that I've actually delivered something that was beneficial to the world. And that's all I want to do, is help the world.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Tanika, we got you back.
I am me. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm basically a technologist focused in data. I really, really enjoy just the art of what you can do with data, what you can make data say, and looking at, you know, the things and the trends that come out of data. So like Juliet said, it's something that really fuels me, but I recently transitioned it into a role where I was also fueled by. So I've always been in the data space, but I had a passion for people and always work with people, and always had a passion for helping people get into companies, helping people learn more about consulting, helping people upskill as well. So what I've done now is I actually just started a new role where I bring a little bit of both into that role. And it was hard to get there, but I think the journey made it so worthwhile. And when the opportunity came up, it was just like, this is for me, this is what I need to do, this is what fuels me. This is what drives me to go to work every day. So I'm definitely blessed to have this opportunity and to be on this panel, because I know that there's a lot of other individuals who have been in the path to a different role or transitioning careers or trying to upskill. So I'm looking at what that looks like for others, and I'm definitely trying to leverage platforms such as this to help them pave their way as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Victoria.
Hi, everyone. My name is Victoria Scott. I am a technical specialist at IBM, and I've been in this role for about 2 years now. And how I got into this role, so I'll go into how I got into IBM specifically, but before this role, I was really into entrepreneurship. So in college, I started a company with a bunch of friends, and it was a water filtration company that did water filtration around parts of Africa, so specifically in Kenya. And also in college, I had the opportunity to intern at different startups. So I worked at a fashion tech startup, I worked at a cybersecurity startup, and fashion and cybersecurity couldn't be any further apart. So that's what I really like about technology. I like that you can bring those skills into pretty much any industry, and every industry has some kind of tech related position or role associated with it. So that's one of the reasons why I'm staying in tech and why I got into tech in the first place. I love that it's so versatile and you can really bring any of those skills that you have to different companies and completely different industries. So I like that flexibility.
That's great. Thank you so much, ladies, for introducing yourselves. So thinking about your career path and then talking about it with other people, what do you think is, I guess, the biggest misconception about your career that people or women of color have, and what do you think can be done to dismantle that misconception? Did you hear me, Victoria?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Okay. So the misconceptions about tech, I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that you need to know how to code. Obviously, coding is a really huge part of tech, and you should learn how to code, like learn like 1 or 2 languages, and that will really take you far. But in my current role, it's not as codey as, I had it thought it was going to be, or like thought I needed to know like all these different languages to do what I'm doing now. So you can go work in a tech role. I'm a technical specialist. I still need to know how to code so I can understand how to, how the technology works, like the underlying, the infrastructure really. But you don't need to know specifically like, okay, like this is where the semicolon goes, like this is where like the syntax that I need to use, like you don't really need to know the specifics of that. So I think that's a big misconception, and also why people don't want to go into tech, like they think they need to learn how to code, but that's not necessarily the case.
Awesome, thank you. Angela?
So I think to piggyback off of Victoria, I think the biggest misconception about just the word technology is that there are no non-technical aspects of it, that everything is about coding or some kind of equipment or application. And there's a lot of areas within technology that are non-technical, and just tackling that misconception. Also, I speak to a lot of K-12 children, and whenever I say the word technology to them, they think, "Oh, I don't want to do that. That's not cool. That's the nerd or the geek, role or job. It's not for me, right? I play ball, or I love music," and just getting them to realize that all of those skills are actually needed in this field is huge.
Absolutely. And Juliet, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest misconceptions is that it's a man's place, right? So like when people talk about tech, you think about the guy with the sweatsuit or sweatshirt, sorry, and jeans, and in San Francisco. You can be in rural Indiana, you can be in West Virginia, you can
be anywhere. And really, the beauty of tech is that it goes where you go. So there is no place where tech exists. There is no mecca by which, technology, lives. You can make technology, you can build applications, you can build businesses that rely on technology all around the world. So there is no geographical limitation, right? You don't have to move to the big city. And I think what we're missing actually is there's a lot of great tech talent in these really small communities, in urban communities, just populations that we haven't thought about yet. And I think that the misconception for those people is that they're not where it's happening, whereas establishing themselves is the place to be.
Now, that's an excellent point. That's an excellent point, and it actually touches on a question I may ask later. But Michael, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say it's like technology. I'm in part of an association where technology is really not easily defined, and people are so confused about what technology actually is. So for a construction worker, technology could be this. For a pharmacist, technology is this. So there are different aspects of what technology actually is. So the underlying is, what is technology to you, is the question that needs to be asked. So it's not really informative enough. It's too broad of. It's like there's a cloud. I mean, you'll never see another cloud that looks the same ever again. So.
Agreed.
Definitely. I know all that too well about the cloud, so from personal experience. Wonderful. Wanted to switch gears a little bit. So according to the National Computing Association for Women in Technology, in their recent scorecard survey, they noted that the number of women of color in either computing or tech professions is declining. Do you have any thoughts on why that is, and what do you think we can do, or what we can do individually? Like, what are your thoughts? Tanika.
So my immediate first thought is, what are we doing to empower women to stay in the technology field? So when those women get into college or decide to pursue a boot camp program, how are we encouraging them to finish? One thing that I've noticed, even myself, when I went into a comp sci, I didn't have the support. There's a lot of lack of support. There's a lot of men in my class who didn't want to work with a woman because they just assumed that I didn't know what I was doing, or they assumed that the men in the room were smarter, so they wanted to work with each other on projects. So how do we make sure that the support is there is where it needs to start. And whether that's in undergrad or boot camp or in the workplace, there has to be that baseline support for women to continue to pursue it, because then what's happening is they're going through it on their own, and they're pushing through on their own. And a lot of, especially minority women, we are the most educated demographic, but we're pushing through with no assistance, and we're transitioning out of comp sci. So the issue becomes, how do we get support in that area? And I think that comes from having advocates, allies, sponsors, which a lot of individuals don't really realize. You have to network to get, and we have to make sure that those communities are there and in place for individuals to have that space to ask questions, be transparent and be authentic, and let people know that, like, they need help too.
Excellent points. Excellent. Angela?
So I think really that so I apologize, my granddaughter just came in.
It's all good. It's all good.
I want to let her out of the cage. No, seriously, as it relates to this, I think that everything that's been said is correct. But here's the thing that I want to bring up that a lot of people don't want to talk about, and that is, we as women have to be willing to help each other. We say it sounds good, but we don't live it. And we need to start living it. For those young girls coming in the field, yes, they should seek mentors. Yes, they should try to network. But us veterans that have been in the field, we should do some reaching out too. We should take notice to those girls and those individuals who have a desire to come into the field and reach out our hand. And a lot of times we don't do it. And the reason we don't do it is I worked too hard to get here. I had to do it. Nobody helped me. I'm not going to help you. You have to do this. You have to do that. And the reality is we all need to help each other. We are more powerful as a unit. And I think sometimes we lose that thought and we don't act in it. So I just would encourage all of us to not only talk about giving back, but actually give back, reach back, and help lift each other up. And if that woman who is sitting in that room, in a room full of men, right? And we know the conception is that they think all the men in the room are smarter than her. We've got to not be afraid to stand up and say, no, she is smart. You should allow her to do this task, but she is the best person to do this task. And a lot of times, we just don't stand up for each other. We don't, for whatever reason.
No, thank you, Angela. That's a powerful point to make, and we do need to make sure that we're developing a sense of community with one another. I think that's incredibly important. Ariana, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I would just say from my perspective too, just coming into undergrad, there wasn't really a lot of representation. My senior year, I was taking a mobile application class, and I was the only girl and the only person of color. And funny thing is like out of, I think there was a total of like 10, 11 people in that class, and they were coming to me for help. So that was kind of interesting seeing that dynamic of like people saying like, oh, like, you know what you're talking about, and seeing that there are people out there that, you know, can truly see potential. And one thing that I'm definitely doing is volunteering. I know a few of us have heard of Black Girls Code. I've had the opportunity, they have a chapter out here in the Bay Area. So I think once a month they do different activities where you can volunteer your time. I've done 2 or 3 events, and I just love seeing young girls that probably when I was their age, I didn't have anything like this. So definitely wanted to be a mentor, volunteer in any capacity that I can. And over the course of the year too, I had about a mentee, 2 mentees, and they just reached out to me like, hey, I love what you're doing. I want to learn more. Like, can I, you know, just jump on a phone call? And I was like, it can be more than a phone call. We can really see a growth and see how you develop over time. So just taking time out of my schedule to really pour what I've learned into them, and not seeing it as like, okay, I'm doing this for you, you do something for me, but just saying like, hey, I've been here, and here are like different tips and things that I've accumulated over time that you can use as a resource. And there's different things that I've just come across, like anytime people reach out to me on LinkedIn, or someone from the other day messaged me from Nigeria, like, hey, so you're an engineer, I'm currently learning Python, what can you do? And just taking 2 to 3 minutes to answer and really just giving them that feedback. I think it's just like, it adds up over time. So it's like, oh, another Instagram DM. But it's like, no, if I reach out to somebody, I really, really hope like they will get back to me. So just seeing in that limelight and just dropping different keys and hints to people over time and seeing them come back like, hey, this really helped, or just knowing that you're doing it out of good intention. I think that's kind of like rest assured for me, to seeing how just being a woman of color in tech and being able to reach out to other people and they can see me as someone, because honestly, I didn't really have anyone to reference when I was an undergrad to look up to. So I was like, why not just look up to myself and see how far this can grow, and just keep applying what I'm learning and making connections and seeing, you know, where I am today. So
Amazing. Thank you. Juliet, did you have something to say?
Yeah, you know, I struggle with this question, and I struggle because my background is I'm Nigerian, and, you know, we're taught to pull ourselves up, right? We're taught, Nigerian communities are typically not known for lots of helping each other. In fact, I'll be honest, many of us don't move into communities that have too many of us, unfortunately. And that's me being completely transparent. So for me, when I'm getting into a situation in industry, I'm not expecting the help. I'm expecting that they're going to hold me to the same or higher standard than anybody else. So my thought is, I don't even get into it unless I know I can be better than everybody else. That's just my perspective. And I have not had a lot of women of color who can help lift me. In fact, my particular experience has been, there's been lots of backbiting and lots of infighting, right? And I think that what women of color need to understand is, we've got to be able to release ourselves of the burdens we put on ourselves in our personal lives. I think often our personal lives keep us back, right? Because African American women, brown women, tend to have more family responsibilities. They tend to be responsible for the greater, their grandparents, aunts, uncles, and it's on their back to make sure that those people are okay. So we start off with a debt when we come into technology or these mostly male-dominated fields. Then we have our own children, right? So then we've got to figure out childcare. Then we may have a husband who is or is not, helping with the responsibilities in the household. And if we come into an industry like this, we will require more support. We will need people to support, to give us more support. For myself, I'm the mother of 2 children. I'm a single mother. And literally what I've had to do is say to myself, I need to find a career. I need to find a community that embraces who I am today. And I need to be able to be the best person in whatever job, company, function I have today. I don't make future plans. I don't think about, what's going to happen 10 years from now, because everything may change. But I'm ultimately looking for the world that supports my lifestyle today so that I can be competitive, right? So I've had a nanny since my children were born. I have, my mom is here. I have family support system. What I recognize in us is that we're afraid to ask for help, but we also aren't good about saying, maybe this isn't for me, right? Maybe I'm not meant to do this thing. Maybe I'm not meant to do this thing right now. Maybe there's a different time. Or maybe I've got to create my own space, right? So I started my company because I got tired of building and burning out and then leaving nothing for myself. So I don't expect other women to support me. I do ask for help, but what I do is create a lifestyle that supports who I am today, and then I try to be the best I can every single day. And I think when you do that, you know when it's time to leave or to step back, because I don't want other women to feel like I'm their burden. I want to figure out how to come to the table and add value. And I find that a lot of women, when they're starting out, they do reach out to me, but they want me to hook them up. And I can do that, but we got to ask ourselves, is hooking everybody up, all of my sisters up, going to be a burden to me? Or do I need to find a way to build a platform so we can all rise together? And that's really what I think when you say helping people. If it's a mentorship model, it needs to be something sustainable that doesn't slow me down, because if I don't reach my peak, how do I bring anybody with me? And that's why I struggle with this conversation.
No, you raise really great points, and it is a hard conversation, because like we're all going to have different perspectives as to how can we best help the future generations. But I think the issues that you raised are very pertinent ones, and ones that we do need to ask ourselves as we move forward. Michael, did you want to say something?
Oh, I was just going to piggyback about, just the thing with us is like, it's collaboration over, instead of collaborating, we want to compete all the time. It's like, it's an ongoing thing. It's like, there's a barbershop on this corner. Okay, he does fades and he does box cuts, or she does box braids and she does weave. It's 329 million people. We've heard that how many times in the last 3 months? How many people are in this world? So we've heard that. It's enough for everybody to do. I mean, my whole mission now is like, okay, I do a lot of content creating and doing a lot of internet and putting stuff on YouTube and all type of social. I don't have time to keep creating the same content you're creating. I'll just use your content, give you some credit, and it's going to get the demographic that you're reaching probably is not the demographic that I'm going to reach. So those kids are the mentors that I'm probably mentoring, because that information you got is great. It's great. It's great. I don't need to do anything but tweak it and give you your credit and throw it on my webpage and let it keep going. I did that just a couple days ago. I had a tweet about a girl who had coronavirus. Somebody took your post went viral. I was like, did it? I didn't know, because a Trump supporter put it on Twitter and it went viral. So it was like, okay, it's on YouTube here, it's on YouTube there. I was like, okay, well, guess what? They know she get it done. So I don't care what you think, what you look for. The word is out. And that's our problem. I mean, we get to thinking my mentors were nobody that looked like me. There are no women of color. It's too many women of color in construction. They don't look. I had to find them. I go on the internet, and people that are my mentors don't know they're my mentors until they get a couple emails or inboxes on LinkedIn from me. And they let's have a phone call. You sound interesting. So that's how that works. It's like a whole different. We got to reach outside. It ain't no box anymore. It's just like closed mouth don't get fed. If you want the knowledge, it's out for you. It's not like the Pony Express days when you had to decipher what 304 meant in a pager or something for all of us old heads. But that's technology. That was technology back then, a pager, and with that code, that was live chat. But that's my point on that one.
That's funny. I'm going to take two more comments. So I saw Tanika. Did you have a?
Yeah,
No?
so I definitely wanted to add in two key areas. So one, I think the biggest concern is we all hear the words imposter syndrome, but one thing we have is that when anyone moves up in the ranks or anyone reaches out, what I've noticed is there's a lot of individuals who just have imposter syndrome and feeling like they're going to be found out by the person that's asking them for information that they don't really know what they're talking about. But that person came to you. So make sure that you're willing to help out. If you're going to speak to them, make sure you're willing to give them the time, answer their questions. Otherwise, it's easy to say, well, you know what, I'm not in that space, but Susan is, and I want to refer you over to her because that's not my area of expertise. I think what we take on a lot of is just trying to be an expert in every area, and we don't have to be. And it kind of goes back to your point about just giving people the credit or just making sure you connect, being a connector. And I think that is what I am, because I know what my strengths are, and I know I'm not trying to take on all the knowledge of the world and try to figure out everything. So I'm going to refer you out to someone else who may be knowledgeable in that area, because then I'm not taking on all that stress, that pressure, and trying to build. I can't build myself up, build you up, and build the whole world up by acquiring all that knowledge. Let me be in the area that I'm expert in, and I think that will help not only me but other individuals when it comes down to the getting found out factor of if I know that I'm an expert here, I know what I'm an expert in. So there's nothing for me to get found out about. I know what I know. So I'm going to tell you, go talk to Susan for this and go talk to this person for that. But in that as well, you also want to make sure that you're building genuine relationships. People reach out all the time, but are you building a genuine relationship with that individual? I know you you also just said you reach out to people and they become your mentors. That comes from building a genuine relationship. You can reach out to 10 people on LinkedIn a day, but those individuals people are reaching out to them all the time. So what makes what you're saying different than what everyone else is reaching out about? So make sure you're building those genuine relationships, because there comes a time where maybe you're in that room with a room full of men and you're the only woman, and you're going to need that table knocker, that person that's going to be like, Tanika's talking, I need you all to turn your attention over here, or I need you all to pay, really take this in. Those individuals are the people that you really need in your career, and they may not look like you. I always tell people, find a mentor, an advocate, an ally, a sponsor who looks like you, thinks like you, who doesn't look like you, doesn't think like you, and someone who may not look like you but think like you, because those are going to be the individuals that are going to ride for you throughout your career and beyond.
Great advice. And Angela, I see you had your hand up.
Yes, I'm sitting here like, oh my God, all of this is so true and so good. But what the point I really wanted to make is we're sitting here and the conversation is awesome. And as I stated earlier, we can talk the talk, but Juliet brought up something that was very interesting that I noticed about today's generation. Juliet spoke on, she knows that she has to lift herself up, right? She knows when she goes after something, she's got to be better, right, than the average person in the room. She knows that. Nobody had to tell her. Nobody had to convince her. She wakes up with that mindset. And I think part of what's going on in the world today is everybody's walking around with a what's in it for me attitude, but they're not being accountable for themselves, right? We have to do just what she does. You have to wake up. This is the reality. There are women of color in a male-dominated field, also in a field, in industry where not everybody looks like us. We know that. That's a reality. It's not going away. So with knowing that reality, we have to take on a mindset about ourselves. I know that when I go into the room, any room, right, I have to be 10 times better than my counterpart. I know it. Or I'm not even going to get listened to. I'm not even going to get paid attention to. And I can have some very valuable information. But if I didn't exude that excellence that's 10 times or more above my counterpart, then I'm not going to be respected. I'm not going to be listened to. And I just encourage everyone trying to get in the field, trying to get promoted within the field, trying to maneuver within the field, not just this field, any field. If you always walk around with the knowledge or the mindset that you are the person who has to be your biggest cheerleader, you are the person who has to exude excellence, right? Juliet can't give it to you. Ariana can't give it to you. I can't give it to you. We have to first give it to ourselves. If we keep that mindset, I think it'll make it easier. It won't take the challenges away necessarily, but it will make it easier for you to be able to maneuver and grow throughout this field, this industry, and your career.
Excellent. Thank you. I think this will be our last question before we go into the Q&A. But let's say you're encountering someone who is thinking, okay, I want to go ahead and pursue a career in tech. What actionable step would you give them right now to help them on their way? Juliet.
So I think we started out saying we've got to define what tech means, but if they want to pursue an avenue that is around technology and applications and coding and that sort of thing, look, there's nothing in the world that we want to do today that doesn't exist somewhere. So start doing some research. I would go on Google, take a look at some of the jobs that seem similar to what you might want to do, identify what those jobs require as skills. I would talk to some people maybe that you may know that have either that job or similar jobs. And what it is you want to get as acquainted with what you think the role is or the job is or the industry is as possible. So have those conversations with people around you. If you don't know anybody, what I might do is look at small business associations near you, chambers of commerce nearby. I would look, for if you're a woman of color, talking to even Kimberly Bryant, Black Girls Code. There are lots of people in the world that have answers to the questions you might have. But it's very difficult, like I said, to really know. So Victoria talked about the fact that fashion and cyber aren't related. However, just to give myself credit, I've said, I'm pretty fashionable. We should start that, right? That's something that we might want to start. So it's like, does anything exist that, is related to a passion I have. So, Tanika talked about data. She's always loved data. So what am I doing now? What is my interest in? Start there, and then do research on what technologies help to support that, whatever it is that you like to do. So if you want to do graphic design, okay, what kinds of software do you need to do graphic design? What companies use graphic design? It's a series of questions you need to ask yourself, and then it should lead to conversations you're having so you can validate whether you want to waste your time going in that direction, because I cannot advocate for someone. You can come across something, but you should do your research. I think we're at a stage where don't just jump into something. If you have the ability to prepare and ask whoever you think would be a good either advocate, mentor, or really a resource for you upfront.
Excellent points. Victoria?
Yeah, all of my points right there. Right now is like a great time to research. Like we're all stuck at home. No one's going anywhere. So like use the internet if you have the internet, or try to connect with people who might be in the space that you want to work in. If you don't know anyone, like Juliet said, LinkedIn is a great resource. You can Google people, or look up different job titles that you think you're interested in, and then start upskilling. So if you want to be a coder, you can go to things like Code Academy, or other like online resources where you can learn how to code, or you can go to Coursera or edX and learn all these different courses like product management, or if you want to go into cybersecurity or any other field, like you can try to get those skills right now so that you're prepared for when you can go out and like get an internship or start shadowing people, or you can go out and start meeting people in person, that you have those skills.
Awesome. Thank you. Ariana?
Yeah, I was kind of basing what everyone's responses was to. It's like, for me, I knew I wanted to do like web development, get in some more insight on that besides just going to classes. So one thing for me, I love really networking face to face, reaching out to people, and just like making it really a common connection. So one thing I did was go on meetup.com. A lot of them now are doing a lot of online tutorials because everything is completely shifted. So there were different meetup groups when I lived in Florida that I really enjoyed that I couldn't attend to anymore because now I live in California. But now they're doing their meetups online. So being able to join in on those communities and check in and reach out to people. When I was first starting out and was in Orlando, I went to these meetups frequently where I started seeing common faces and they recognized me like, hey, like nice to see you back, and really engaging. And there's a really cool meetup where you created a project from the ground up. So you work in a group setting as if it was like a full-time job, but you worked in a group setting, you built like a website or a React mobile application, and I would learn so much off of something that I was just doing just, to network, where I can actually apply that now to what I'm doing. So really just putting yourself out there. Meetup was great for me. Slack communities are coming out of everywhere now. I'm maybe in like 12 Slack, honestly, but I check in frequently, and there's so many resources that are dropped that I always access throughout time. So I would say Meetup for sure. YouTube University, I still go on YouTube. There's so many resources from there too. So really, when you're passionate about something and really serious about it, it'll come too. So definitely just put yourself out there and just dig in. Now's the time. It's the time to build. We have more than enough time.
That is for sure. Michael.
I was going to mention like an organization called Apprenti, which is now, since I do a lot with like trade school and trade programs, the construction trade. So now in Ohio, we actually have Apprenti where we can get, they have apprenticeships specifically for technology. So it's like basically they drill you in the same way they would get somebody that was in woodworking that wants to go out and be in the field. They set you up and you go through an apprenticeship program for however many different time slots that they have available, where they're working with like Amazon companies and things like that. That's one thing I wanted to mention. But the second thing was like being comfortable, being uncomfortable in this environment is a key, because most of the time when you're trying to get this information, getting it from people that don't look like you is one good way to get it, and getting it from outside of the United States is key. If you stick with trying to just get the information that they're giving us in the US, you're going to always be behind. And that's where I learned the technology with construction, construction is always the last to adopt the technology. Just like, well, we think something is innovative and everything, but now you see, you got the senior citizens home, they're doing bingo on, I mean, via webinars like we're doing right now, just having bingo and being safe with it. So I just say, like, we got to figure out the code switching too aspect of everything, because that's a hard thing for people of color, no matter if you're white, woman, dealing with mostly men. That's code switching. I mean, if you're comfortable being able to code switch, we got it bad if you were going into, I had it bad, I know that. I mean, only woman going into an all male white environment, it's just like, okay, can you go get the notes off the printer or type of deals? I'm like, that's not, I mean, it's still those little baby stigmas, things where you want to, like, where we're all having a conversation and they look at your opinion like, but let such and such say it goes grain. So I mean, it's all about being comfortable, being uncomfortable, and just keep on fighting the good fight.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tanika.
Yeah, everyone said something really well. I've heard of a Apprenti as well, and apprenticeships.me is another program that places people at large companies. And my favorite upskilling or training platform is edX as well. None of that one wasn't mentioned, but I thought I'd mention it because one of the areas that I definitely think individuals who want to get into tech, what happens is they do their research and then they find out all of these different areas of tech, especially in cyber. Everyone sees or does their research in cyber, sees the money that cyber makes, and thinks that's where they want to be. And it's always interesting when talking to the cyber community. There's individuals like now when they enter the community, they ask you like, why do you want to be in cyber? The first thing they always say is, well, they make a lot of money. So making sure that you're actually doing something that you'll grow to learn, love, and be passionate about, I think is really key. And because if you are doing it for day after day, it'll start to get very mundane and you won't enjoy it. And so you'll end up switching. So it may be a good start, but then you'll end up finding yourself in a transition period, which is just fine. But you want to make sure that you do your research up front and understand what you're doing or what you're looking to do. Is there something and this was mentioned earlier, there's something that aligns with that. Like I had students that I mentored who love music, one love photography. Where does tech play a role in both of those areas? And how can you incorporate tech in those areas? So making sure that you definitely understand where tech is critical, but also not just jumping into something because you know that's what so and so does and they make a lot of money, so now I want to do that. Because that's not always gonna be the right choice or right option for you. And you may not be going along the same path as that person, and you may not want to do all the work that that person did. So making sure that you are up for the challenge, especially going into like heavy tech careers before doing so, and not, we get a lot of people that also just jump in the deep end, look into all these certifications, all these programming languages and everything. If you don't know the basics of um, web development and you just try to jump straight into C sharp, it's not going to work. You need to understand the fundamentals first. You need to understand why the theory behind these programming languages. You need to understand that so that you can be able to articulate why you need to take this next step in this next line of code, or when it comes to data visualization, why this visualization is key or why this KPI is important. You need to really heart and hone in on those fundamentals, and that will, continue to help you propel in your career, because that baseline knowledge will take you very far.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can't just dive right in, and the money can't be the only. The only you set yourself
the
up.
Money will come, trust me.
Exactly. And Julia, I saw you had a comment.
Me? Sorry. I was saying that we often want to receive first. And I think most of my success has come from giving first. So I recommend strongly that you volunteer your time, especially if you don't have enough experience, first. And by giving, by, you know, having someone take a risk, because even in volunteering in tech, you might be really bad. Someone taking a risk and allowing you the opportunity to learn, you should embrace it and you should give your all as though it was a paid job. That's one of the things that I know has worked profoundly for me.
Absolutely. And yeah, and Tanika just wrote, you learn more by teaching and application. That's really, yeah, there's really no getting around it. Well, ladies, thank you so much. This has been a great and engaging conversation. And yeah, everything you said has been spot on. I would like to, for the brief amount of time that we have, I would like to answer some of the questions that we've received in the questions panel. So the first one is, what advice would you offer girls or the adult allies of girls who are interested in various aspects of tech, but whose parents think it's just a phase or believe that tech is a masculine pursuit? Juliet?
Confidence is everything. So Tanika talked about imposter syndrome. That really is what we're speaking to there, where we believe that for whatever reason we're not either worthy or we wouldn't be able to meet up. We've got to, so if I was speaking to a group of young girls, what I would say is, who do you have in your life right now that, you know, builds you up? What are the things that you're doing today that make you feel good? You know, because the key in technology is, it really is high risk, high reward. And so for girls, I want them to be clear that this is not the ticket to happy. You'll have to prove yourself, and people will deliberately put you down. And so what I would say to a young girl is, you know, tell me about what makes you, tell me about yourself. Tell me what it is that, you know, people are telling you around you, and how do you feel about yourself? What is it that you tell yourself when you wake up? What are the negative things that you're actually thinking in your head? Because a lot of what I think holds us back is the perceptions we have about ourselves and how we think other people view us. We have to start with young girls, and I've got 2 daughters myself, to manage the ways that they see themselves. So I'm very clear with my daughters. We look in the mirror all the time, how beautiful they are, how strong they are, you're right, that they can do anything, you're right. So one of my daughters came to me and said that she wanted to, I think she said she wanted to do like, she wanted to be a bartender. And I was like, well, be the best bartender you can, right? But the fact of the matter is, it's all about telling girls when they're young to do the things that they're really good at first, and then to find the things that really excite them next. And I think if you do the things that you're good at, you get confidence in doing that. You become proud of yourself, and then you can take the risk and do other things maybe that you're not comfortable doing. Our girls, they want to do the things that they're told to do. We as a society are telling them that there are specific things that they're aligned to do. And what we've got to do is, from a young age, put them in situations that don't make them feel comfortable, but then cover them with support and love and tell them that they can be anything they want to be. But the trick is, they'll have to be able to work towards it. And they'll have to keep their spirit up and do things that excite them. And so that's the one thing is, if I'm anything, it's an advocate for building women up and building young girls up, because we lose ourselves and then we're expected to go do great things. How do you do that? Where do you pull that from? So we've got to start early.
Absolutely. That's exactly right. I agree. Tanika.
I definitely agree with everything you said, Juliet. And I literally started my nonprofit in college, focused on building women up to help them have that, just more, have the morals, values, and respect that they need to be strong in consulting, I mean, in technology, in anything STEM related, because those are the areas where I feel like we're torn down so much because of our skin color, or because the fact that we're a woman and we're thought to be less of or less than. And so one of the areas I think I really harp on is just making sure that you consistently are giving good energy to yourself. all the time, because you have to have that to be able to go into the workplace and be the best you. So one other area was for parents. I used to always say this because my students would come in and they were like, well, my mom said, college is a lot of loans, or maybe I should just go in the military, things like that. So you have to be able to see beyond. Sometimes your parents can only take you as far as they've gone. And if they don't have the network or the resources, they may not be able to connect you. So you have to go out and do that connecting and find those mentors and advocates. Talk to your people at school, at the university, at the high school yourself, because your parents may not know. My mother wanted me to be a nurse. She instilled in me nursing, doctors since I was young. And I didn't realize that until I got into college and I wanted to switch my major, and she did not agree. So for me, doing that was just being super defiant and not giving any, not caring about what she's taught me over the years. But it took for her someone, she's like the head charge nurse of, a whole unit. And for her, it took this technology person who worked on some of the systems that she worked in for her patients to say, oh, well, oh, that IBM company, I heard of that. My daughter has an internship there. And that person to say, wow, that's a really great opportunity if she's at IBM and so young. And that was the turning point for her to say, oh, okay, well, I guess that's good then. But before that, it was like, you're not doing the work. You don't want to do the work. You're not putting in the effort. But it was just that it was not driving me. So it was hard for me to read something about anatomy and physiology. I had to read it 4 or 5 times before I got it, because it just didn't relate to me. But for me to pick up Python, I would do it all night, didn't care, wouldn't sleep, go to class the next day, do my presentation, talk about it, and sleep afterwards. But it became that continuous journey and struggle of having to prove myself, not only to me, but to my parents. And you don't want to have to do that. So you have to be able to let your parents know that there are other individuals out there that they can talk to as well. If you're wanting to get that journey, one of the areas I do is I try to expose people. If my mentee tells me that they're into photography, I'm going to connect them to the best photographer I know who has the best website, like that is doing really great work and really great graphic design, because I want them to understand that they can do it too. And I think that's the area that a lot of parents don't get. And that's the education that they need to receive as well. So when your daughter is coming to you, or your son is coming to you and saying they want to be in tech, and you're telling them that's not the place that you need to be, I think we also have to take in and just help them see that there is other answers out there before we go back and answer to our children and the students that we see in the classroom, anyone, because we don't want to misinform them, and that can drive the direction of their whole career, their life, everything.
Thank you, Tika. Angela?
Thank you. So I just wanted to say real quick, I always start off with the question of what is it you like to do? And if it's something you like to do, convincing people that they'll be successful at it. Really quick, I have a story. I went and spoke at a school, and this little girl, I didn't even I got my name out. That was it. And she was sitting in the audience, and she looked at me and she said, look, I'm here because my teacher told me I needed to come here. I don't care about technology, cybersecurity, or none of that. I want to be a fashion designer. So please don't call on me. Literally, that's what she said to me. And I said to her, what if I can take that fashion design passion you have and show you how you can apply technology to it? And she said, whatever. I don't think you can do that. Fashion, technology, they don't relate. Long story short, I went back to that school and spoke to her. and spoke again at the school. They had a science fair, and she came running up to me all excited. She had written a software application to help her draw her designs for her fashion, and she made a biodegradable fabric. So I say that really for parents. Don't shun your kids who may have an interest in something, whether it's technology or fashion or anything that may not be of your expectation, because you never know where it can lead them. And you want to be encouraging. And I just say research, research, research. I'm not the only person out here who loves for somebody to tell them they can't do something, because that's the thing I'm going to do. I know there are a lot of kids out there today that think that same way. And I just say keep that attitude, because it's that attitude that will help you soar and succeed.
Thank you. And Michael.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I mean, I get it firsthand. I mean, my mom, I grew up in a stage where the name, she gave me a man's name because she wanted me to get into some way, somehow. She's like, I'm gonna give you a boy, you a black woman, you a black girl growing up in the 70s, 80s. I'm gonna give you a male's name so you can get your foot, and it worked. That's how I got into construction. But the whole thing is like where we say, look at Kobe Bryant and Gianni, you know what I'm saying? Their relationship. Nowadays, you got men. That's how I got to look at it with my nonprofit. I look at these men that have these lucrative construction careers and be like, okay, well, your daughter can do the same thing. It's like if you live on a farm, you got her milking cows, you got her running the backhoe, you got her doing these. She can do it. It's the stigma of, okay, but they don't want the cat calls, or they don't want, you know, the guys on the side flirt. I mean, it gets to those selfish type of reasons, or, you know, it's just like, you know, I don't get it. You know, you got so many different opportunities that it's 2020. We can do anything. The Depression told us that when the men went to war, the women kept the country running. It's the same situation going on now. So the parents, to be honest, you just got to tell these kids that everybody can't be an internet star. So that's the technology that they think. So.
That is true. That is so, so true. So we'll have time for one last question. And so this one is just talking about looking for tech roles. And so when someone is out there looking for a role, how much time or emphasis, for that matter, should be spent on looking for a role at a place like a Google or an Amazon versus going to like a non-tech company? Victoria?
Yeah, so I think that it's probably easier to find a role at a larger tech company just because there are more roles. I know if you're trying to do tech and you're trying to move into the entrepreneurship, the startup space, it can be very hard because, well, one, you don't know what company you might want to work for, and sometimes those companies are a little bit harder to find just by a simple Google search. So to answer your question, how long should it take? I think that you should do your research first so you can find the role that you want to move into first. And then once you have that foundation, once you know what you want to move into, then you can, just rapid fire go through, a Google or an Amazon or an IBM or wherever, a tech company, and find that role. And then after that, it's just a matter of like, does this company suit me? So I don't think that you should spend much time like trying to find the role. I think you should spend the time researching the role that you want to move into. And obviously, like that role that you move into is not necessarily going to be the be all end all where you have to stay forever, but just to do that preliminary research first so you know what you're getting yourself into.
Absolutely. And our last two comments, so Tanika and then Michael.
Yeah, so I don't think there has to be a large emphasis on those tech companies. So the one way that I definitely harp on telling people, you can leverage LinkedIn to find a role at pretty much any company by leveraging the search, Boolean searching and looking at the content. But there are companies that are also hiring. So when you're looking at the Google, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and all of those companies, make sure you're also looking at other companies that come up in your search, because that experience is also just as applicable. And sometimes those companies will bring you even more experience. So I started one of my internships. I did an internship with IBM. I did an internship with AT&T, and T, and I also did an internship with a small company. And I learned more just about business at that small company because they allowed me to move around to different functions of the company during my 3 months there, instead of just staying at IBM where I coded all day every day. I took 2 hours out of my day to go learn what business development does, what the CEO of marketing does. I went to each business unit, and that's because I also asked for that opportunity. So making sure you look at the company, look at the people there, ask people what they think about it. Like, look up people who work there and talk to them as well, and apply, because those same companies may give you the same experience, even more, and it'll build you up so that when you also really want to apply to those large companies, you have the experience, you're meeting the qualifications. Not saying that you don't now, but I think it's still a great opportunity, and you don't have to be at a large company.
Absolutely. Michael, looks like you have a friend there.
But no, what I was just gonna say is, it's like, not necessarily look at those big companies, look at the industry that you're passionate about and you like, because there's tech, like I said, it just depends on the definition of technology and what they're looking at. Everybody's not going in for coding per se. There's design, there's 3D, there's augmentative reality, there's so many different aspects. Like I said, we do drone technology and construction. I mean, that is imperative. It's like I said, if you got something that you love, where Angela was saying about, and Victoria went from fashion to where she, total different spectrums. I mean, technology is in everything. And some right now, 2020, they're creating positions daily for different roles in technology. I mean, we have construction technologists now all over the industry. So it's just a broad open window nowadays.
It is, for sure. Thank you for that. And ladies, thank you all so very much for your thoughts and your time today. I really honestly appreciate it. And we're just about a little bit over time, but I would encourage everyone, if you want to reach out to these fantastic ladies, they are on social media. You can check out the book's website, webelongintech.com, to read their bios as well as what they're currently working on. So I fully encourage you to reach out to them after today's panel. I wanted to give the book's publicist, Dawn Michelle Hardy, a moment to speak. And Dawn, are you there by chance?
Yes, I'm here. I unmuted myself. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, and is.
Hi, ladies. So you guys were amazing. Thank you so much for putting this together. We were supposed to be in Barnes & Noble in Midtown Manhattan, and here we are in the comforts of our home. But nonetheless, we get it done, ladies. So thank you very much for that. This morning, we woke up to some wonderful news. So while today is the public release date of Susanne's book, Woman of Color in Tech, I'm also happy to announce that she is now the author of an award-winning book. This book won the Nonfiction Authors Association. She won the Silver Medal Award. So Susanne, congratulations to you. Congratulations to you. This is Black Girl Magic, people. This is it right here. So yeah, virtual hand clap for you, girl. Virtual hand clap. Wave the hands and all of that.
Yes.
So congratulations, Susanne. Congratulations to you. And thank you, ladies, again for your contribution.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Yeah, this was not something I did alone, and I thank all of the panelists, all of the wonderful people at Wiley, Dawn, at my job. I could go on. I'm not going to bore you, but I'm truly honored and privileged to have had this opportunity. And I hope that even if I inspire one person, and then I feel like I can say thank you. Well, everyone, thank you again so much. That concludes our panel discussion. Again, if you're interested in learning more about the book and the wonderful panelists, please go to webelongintech.com. Thanks, everyone, and have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.